He was the railway employee. Employed in railways. 1953 retired. Afterwards he became a Avadhuta.
Shall we start? Shall we? Yasmat jatam jagat sarvam yasmin yeva praliyate yenedam dharyate chaiva tasmai jnanatmane namaha Ishvaro gururatmeti murti bheda vibhagine vyomavat vyapta dehaya dakshinamurtaye namaha Taittiriya mayacharya prasadataha vispashtartaruchinam hi vyakyeyam sampraniyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So first of all, we had a very good Gita Akanta Parayana last Monday by the grace of the Lord. I think it was very good, and because of our Bhakti and Shraddha, I think we all must have really enjoyed and spent a useful time. I had also written to Sringeri Acharya long back. The letter came only today. I just want to read what he has read. I've been telling him what we are doing for the last 2 years. I'll just read his reply. I also wrote to him 2 months back. Srimatsu Mahadeva Mahodayeshu Sadhara Vijnaptihi. Generally write in Sanskrit, so I also write in Sanskrit. Bhavadbihi Likitam Patram. I wrote a letter. Ekottara Sahasra Rupyaka Upayena. I sent also 1,001 rupee on check also I sent. Sahitam Samasaditam Srimad Jagat Gurunam Charana Nilayoho Bhavat Pranita Tinivedana Purasaram Samarpitancha. Including your money, we have submitted it at the feet of the Lord, the Guru. Kalyana Nagari Sthite in Bangalore. Bharatiya Prabandha Samsthane in IA in Bangalore. Gata Vatsarameva, like last year. Gata Vatsarameva, Asminapi Vatsare, this year also. Gita Jayanti Sandarbhe. Akanda Gita Parayanam Prachalati iti Vijnaya, having known this, Srimad Jagat Guru Charanaha Nitaram Santushtaha Bhavan. He was happy to hear that we are doing it for the second year. Shri Sharda Chandramolishwarayoho Kripaya Sankalpita Iyam Karyakramaha Nishpratyuham Pravartatam. Let it happen without any interruption. Tatra Bhaginaha Sarvepi Astika Janaha Dirgayuho Arogyadi Sakala Shreyobihi Samedantamiti Cha Shri Jagat Guru Charanaha Ashasate. So he has given his wishes that all of us Shri Charananugrihita Ashirvada Mantrakshataha Shri Sharda Chandramolishwar Prasadascha Preshyante. He has sent a little bit of kumkum and it just came today. I thought I will just mention this. Anyway, so we have actually concluded the second chapter of Taittiriya Upanishad, Brahmanandavalli. Last time on 14th December, we completed the last Anuvaka. So today we will sort of quickly look back and summarize what is there in Brahmanandavalli. Actually, if you may go back to my first session, so we are in the 43rd session now. Last year on January 4th we started. I had spoken in great length in that session about Indian knowledge tradition on one hand, but what is unique about Upanishad? There is certain uniqueness about Upanishad teaching. It's not like your other Katha or Purana or anything like that. Upanishad teaching has a certain uniqueness. I want to recall it because in Taittiriya Upanishad, of the 3 chapters, Shiksha Valli chapter 1, Brahmanandavalli which is chapter 2 and Bhrigu Valli which is chapter 3, the real Upanishad is only the middle one. Brahmanandavalli is actually the Upanishad. The Shiksha Valli, as we saw, are some preamble, some convocation address, some principles of good living. Those ideas are there. And Bhrigu Valli is a conversation between father and a son on the issue which is covered here. So this is the Upanishad. So this is Brahmanandavalli is the most important component, and it characterizes and shows all aspects of what you can expect in an Upanishad. That all we saw. I want to recollect that first session a little bit so that we can connect to what we have gone through. Now, if you talk of a typical Upanishad teaching, how do you teach an Upanishad? There are a few things which are very peculiar. First of all Upanishads will address the issue of who am I. In fact, there is no religion at all. That is a charm of the ancient Indian wisdom. Today, people are rattling all over the place and making a mess of things. Upanishads are highest body of knowledge which are relevant to every person. No matter what is the demography or nothing. Upanishads always will talk about who am I. I think all of us have that question. We may hibernate the question, we may push the question under the carpet, but it will pop up again and again in our life. Upanishad takes that question for inquiry. Who am I? Where am I going? It's not about our promotions and post-retirement. It is not that. It's a much larger question. Where am I going? Chinmayananda says, Om to tomb. What happens in between? He says like that. From Om to tomb. That's the word he uses, Swami Chinmayananda. That's the real question. What is this trajectory? Why am I here? And what am I going to do? And what am I supposed to do? Upanishad always inquires that. It's a very interesting question. Nobody can say it is an uninteresting question. So they are all there in Brahmanandavalli also. If you reflect back, you will connect. Second, Upanishads, all Upanishads and Vedanta literature, Upanishad is part of Vedanta. The entire Vedanta literature is singularly interested in connecting the triangle called Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. You give whatever name to the Ishvara. It connects the 3 triangles. There is an individual, there is a so-called universe, and there is a larger force which seems to... The larger force was so beautifully described in Brahmanandavalli, actually. The whole creation process we saw and all that. So, every Upanishad will make an effort to connect the triangle called Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. Again, it's a very important question. All of us have this question. We may not ask openly, we may not ask explicitly, but this is a question every individual wants to understand. Somewhere he wants to connect. There are times when this question comes much more explicitly than what we experience. It connects sometimes 2 out of the 3, if not all the 3. Certain times it connects all the 3 also. So Upanishads actually try to provide some meaning, some direction to find answers for this. Third, Upanishad has a knack of, you compare all the other science that we read, psychology, management, all that we do in world of Vyavahara, that body of knowledge, which Mundaka Upanishad call it as Aparavidya. It has given a nice name for it called Aparavidya. Whereas the Upanishad ideas are Paravidya. Now, if you look at this whole gamut of knowledge of Aparavidya and compare it with Paravidya, you will see a very interesting transition. In Paravidya, which is ultimate knowledge, the subject matter of discussion or the whole discussion moves away from Vishaya to Vishayi. Vishaya is the subject. Vishayi is the object. I'm sorry, the other way. I'm sorry. Vishaya is the object. Vishayi is the subject. It inquires about the subject. The other Aparavidya is all about object. How do you make things better? How do you make somebody happy? Or there are objects. There is a subject. The object existed only because of the subject. If the subject is gone, the object disappears. That's what happens when a person dies. The world of object is a function of a world of subject. So while the Aparavidya is completely concerned about the world of object, Upanishad has the knack of shifting the discussion to Vishayi. It says subject, not the object. It's not Vishaya, but it is Vishayi. So in the same way, if you extend this idea, it shifts the discussion from what and why and that, how and that kind of questions to who. Who is a very profound question. What, why and how are all not profound. We find it profound. Why is the heart working like this? Then we are able to repair the heart. All those looks profound. Who is much more profounder question than this? Who fell the apple? Why fell the apple? Force of gravity. Question is, why did it fall at 6:14 p.m.? Who fell it? Somebody chose to fell it, then the force of gravity started acting on it and then it came. Why did it detach at 6:14? Who created that? So Upanishad has a knack of shifting the discussion to who. I think in our personal life, the day we start asking who questions, we become more reflective. So that is what it is. So if you take all these into consideration, then the Upanishad has a very complex problem in front of us. It faces. The field of study is not outside. If the field of study is outside, then it is a world of object. Upanishad is not at all interested in the world of object. It is interested in the subject. Therefore, the field of study is now inside, not outside. Moment you say the field of study is inside, all your frills are of no use. The karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, buddhi, chitta, ahankar, just throw it. It is of no use. It can go up to a point. It cannot catch it. Because all these are required only for the world of object. For subject you don't need anything. That's why in sleep you have anubhava. You don't have analytical power in shushupti. Deep sleep you can't analyze anything because your buddhi is out. Your chitta is out. Your ahankara is dead. Your karmendriyas are dead. Your body is dead. Your jnanendriyas are dead. Everything is dead. But you gathered experience. You got up and said, oh, what a wonderful sleep I had. Where from did it come? So there is a state of existence for all of us, which we experience every day at least for 3-4 hours, if not 8 hours. And during that state, we have gathered experience without any of these objects which have been given to us. Upanishad talks about that. So the fundamental limitation, we have to use these frills, yet try to understand that which is without frills. That is why Upanishad teachings are complex. That's why it is counterintuitive, it is unscientific. Science is only in the world of subject and object connection, not inside your own world. So those complexities are there. All these you will find in Brahmanandavalli. That is why Brahmanandavalli is the crux of Taittiriya Upanishad, because that is the pure Upanishad component is there. Because Shiksha Valli is Upasana. And Bhrigu Valli is also going to be a certain Upasana. The middle part is solid piece Upanishad teaching, which is what it is. Now this Upanishad, Brahmanandavalli, it's so beautifully structured, the entire teaching is in just first one sentence, finished. That's all. Brahmavita apnoti param, finished. Brahmavita apnoti param, full stop. Over. Teaching is over. That's all is the teaching. A person who has understood that achieves everything in life. That's all it says. That's all is the Upanishadic teaching. So this is a sutra. So the way Brahmanandavalli is organized, is, it starts with a sutra. And the sutra is Brahmavid apnoti param. Full stop. Period. Now that is too small for us to make sense of. So then what it did, this is the structure of the Upanishad I am telling, the Brahmanandavalli. Then what it did was, it put 4 sentences. It is called vritti. Vritti is slightly explained. You can't explain in great details, but you can explain it a little bit more. So, you have the bare act and then a little bit of explanation to the act. That kind of a thing. So that is a vritti. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman so oshnute sarvan kamaan saha brahmana vipaschite ti iti. Thus, full stop. That is where, so the Brahmavid apnoti param is explained with 4 sentences. Starting from there, iti, up to that. Now we can't even understand it because that itself is heavy. The entire 10 anuvakas are vyakhyana. So the structure of Brahmanandavalli is threefold. Sutra, followed by vritti, followed by vyakhyana, which is a little more detail of trying to explain, because again this is cryptic enough for us, we can't make sense of it. And also subject matter is very difficult. So you have to use simile, you have to do, as I told you, tatastha lakshana, neti vada, so many nice structures are available in Vedanta. You have to do neti vada. That's what in modern science also we do. If you have to identify something, in aircraft, if there is a complex electrical system, they use only neti vada. They say not this, not the, elimination only. Not na iti, that is neti. Na iti, this is not, this is not, this is not, this is not. What is finally remaining is what it is. That's the only way you can approach. Use your sense and then use the sense to the extent it can go. So those kinds of structures are all, tatastha lakshana is so beautifully there in Pancha Kosha. So this Upanishad has all, Brahmanandavalli has all those multidimensional features and complexity that you can expect in any Upanishad that you find in Brahmanandavalli. So now we will see it quickly, sort of go through this 9 anuvakas, just run through our memory lane a little bit, because we have been doing it for the last 6 months, I think. So this is the structure of Brahmanandavalli. It starts with a Shantipata, which is the tradition. They invoke blessings of the Ishvara before whatever they want to do. So Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahe, Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidyushavahe, Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. That is the Shantipata. In fact, for all Krishna Yajurveda, that is the Shantipata. For a change in the Shiksha Valli, we had something else. Otherwise, for most of the Krishna Yajurveda, this is a Shantipata. Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Bhunaktu. Anyway, so that is the first starter for Brahmanandavalli. Then the first Anuvaka, or the section as you may call it. The first Anuvaka is this Upanishad Sara. This entire message is contained there in the form of a sutra and a vritti. As I told you just now. Brahmavita apnoti param satesha abhyukta tat esha abhiyukta. That has been told like this. That is the next line. That's a vritti. Tadesha abhyukta satyam jnanam anantam brahma. That's the definition of Brahman. We make no sense of satyam jnanam anantam. So some explanation will come later. Yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. That person who understands that, which is in the deepest of every individual's cave, it is also omnipresent. Yo veda nihitam guhayam parame vyoman. So shnute sarvan kaman. He is consumed every good, everything in the world. He is satisfied. So shnute sarvan kaman brahmana vipaschitaha iti. So that structure is there in the, that's why I call it as Upanishad Sara Sangraha. The essence of Upanishad is there in the first Anuvaka. Then you have Anuvaka 2 to 6, in which these Pancha Koshas are this 5-layered complex of an individual is described. You have this Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. It analyzes every individual from a very different lens. It says individual is not made of just blood and marrow and sap and all that. That's another lens. Here the lens is different because it is a Vedantic discussion. It drills into who am I. It really provides a certain dimension and a perspective to answer the question, who am I? And who am I always starts with my passport, my name and date of birth. That's how we start. I am so and so, I am born and so and so. That is the Annamaya Kosha. The Stula. You put more food, it becomes a little thicker. You reduce food, it shrinks a little bit. That's where it starts. But then our ancestors penetrated 5 layers, which we saw. So that's Anuvaka 2 to 6. Anuvaka 2 talks about Annamaya Kosha. Anuvaka 3 talks about Pranamaya Kosha. It peels one layer at a time using Netivada. Na iti. This is not I. This is called Netivada. Oh no, I am not the body. How can you say I am not the body? When you are in deep sleep, I can do something to you, you will not respond. If you can't respond, then at that point in time, you are. So how can you not be body sometime and be body some other time? If you use that logic, then that means it is all changing. It is like this shirt. After some time, you can throw the shirt, so the shirt is not me. So that is how it starts. Then it says, no, you are the prana. Then the Ajata Shatru, I discussed all that. Ajata Shatru was a great king of Kashi, caught one Brahmin and said, come here. What do you understand? Prana is not you. Look at this fellow, he is sleeping, he is not even, you keep calling and shouting, he is not getting up. So, if his prana is working, he should actually, get up. He is not responding. So, prana is also temporarily out now. Like that he explains. So, all that is there. So, Pranamaya Kosha. Then it is not Netivada, that's also not. Then Manomaya Kosha. Then in deep sleep, the mind is gone. Mind is switched off. Only in dream the mind is working. Deep sleep, where is the mind? You can only get up and talk in past tense. Nobody can say, I am having good sleep. That means it's the biggest lie. Because if you are having good sleep, you cannot talk. Your sleep is still not complete. You are half asleep. So that kind of a thing. So Manomaya is not there. Vijnanamaya is not there. Then Anandamaya is also not there. But that is the subtlest layer up to which you can go. So those, we saw all that. 6 Anuvakas. Then came this beautiful Anuvaka called Ubhaya Pratishta. It said, it talked about the signs of fear. Why do we get fear? So beautifully, in only 4 mantras it said, I explained it with a nice framework. I will bring that framework today also, just to sort of run through it once again. Why people will have fear? Nobody can escape from fear because of a certain reason called duality. If you experience duality, you have to have fear. Because competition will come. Somebody will be better than me. Something will happen. It is only Advaita which makes you fearless. You should be able to breathe a possibility of, I am the only one in the world. Nothing else. In other words, all are me only. Then there is no Parajaya. Who is to be one? Win and loss, the whole world of duality will go good, bad, negative, I like him, don't like him, all of them will disappear. So that mantra beautifully brings that, the Ubhaya Pratishta. In fact, it said, Bhisha, Sma, Dvataf Pavate. The wind blows out of fear, it says. Bhisho Deeti Surya, Surya Udayati out of fear. In a metaphorical sense, it actually brings that idea. See, some of these are very metaphorical. You cannot take a little meaning, but anyway. So all that we saw. It talks about fearlessness and fear, what is the framework. Then got into this mega Brahmananda Mimamsa. It took the most happiest, most perfect human being, a very hypothetical human being as one unit of happiness. And the Upanishad took up to 10 power 20 units of that. And then said, even this happiness is not what I am talking, there is something more than that. So that Ananda Mimamsa. It is the closing section of Brahman. That's why it's called Anandavalli. Or some people call it as Brahmanandavalli. Brahmavalli, Anandavalli or Brahmanandavalli, all the word they use. I think we are benefiting when we put both together. So we'll call it as Brahmanandavalli. Then, of course, Anuvaka 9 is a short summary. It is like Palashruti, Palaprayoga. If somebody really, could master and experience, master meaning experience, Not, understand it by heart and explain the meaning, not that which I am doing. It is not that. It is experiencing that state which is being described. What happens to him or her? That palashruti sort of a thing is in the last Anuvaka, which we quickly saw last time. Etamannamayam upasankramyate, etam pranamayam upasankramate. It transcends. The consciousness is not limited by any of these. It transcends and it really experiences freedom. That kind of a palashruti is there. Then of course the same Shanti Pata. Sahana Vavatu, Sahana Vavatu. So that is the structure of Brahmanandavalli. So we'll run through some sections just to sort of... So as I told, these are, to me at least, these are the questions which are addressed in this Upanishad section, Brahmanandavalli. What is the ultimate goal of a human being? Brahmavid apnoti param answers that. You attain everything when you know the Brahman, whatever you understand by that. So in half a sentence it said what is the ultimate goal. You will get fearless, you will liberate, you will be an embodiment of bliss. All those are coming later. So they are all one question which this Upanishad tries to answer. How is the Brahman characterized? What is this Brahman? So it said, tasmat va etasmat akasa sambhutah akashad vayuh vayor agnihi agnerapah abhyah prithvi prithvyam oshadayah oshadibhyonnam annat purushah. Good train of how this divinity plays itself out. All those are being explained. Who are we? Are we the body, mind? The Pancha Kosha actually challenges our assumptions about who we are. In a systematic way, it gives us some answers to that. How to make sense of the universe? There is a beautiful creation process. So kamayata bahusyam prajayeti satapo tapyata satapas taptva idagum sarvam asrijita. It decided to create the whole thing. So all those came out of it. So the creation process is, we spent a lot of time on it because there are very nice passages actually. You can bring science, challenge, it challenges this challenges science, all those are happening. Because only out of the churning we will reach another level of understanding of what is happening and so on. Then how to measure up our bliss, are there limits to it? So the Brahmananda. So these are some of the questions that this Brahmanandavalli is answering. And all these questions are part of it, as I already said. Where did we start this journey called life? Where are we supposed to end this journey? Who are we? All those, and what is the relation between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara? The creation process brought in this law of conservation of divinity squarely to the table. It said divinity can neither be created nor be destroyed. Whole gamut of evil. It's a continuum from evil to goodness. Everything is divinity. It's a continuum. Just like this, absolute scale of minus 373 degree, which is 0 Kelvin to whatever Kelvin, it is a continuum. Hot and cold are our own semantics. All these are our own vocabulary. Chandogya Upanishad says, Ekameva Mrit Prindam, Sarvam Mrinmayam Bhavati, Vacharambam, it's a beautiful shloka. It says, moment you have to create differences, you have to create a world of language and semantic. So hot, cold, like, dislike are all for Vyavahara. Reality is just a continuum. Just like temperature is from minus 373 degrees centigrade to infinity, whatever. Hot and cold, you drew lines. It's just a continuum. So divinity is a continuum. Evil, Satan and good and Deva, Asura are all just... Because the space is so non-contiguous, you want to draw some boundaries and sort of, do things. So that's what it is. Mahakasha and Gatakasha kind of a thing. So this is how it starts. Brahmavit apnoti param. This is the sutra which says that the knower of Brahman attains the supreme, and this is the only essential teaching. If you can understand it enough, since it may be hard to understand what is being told here, therefore the Upanishad is out of grace, says, let me now sort of...
Is there in this mantra also?
Huh?
Om is there in the
No, I think I just... At that time I must have did. Just put it here. Om is not there. So my part of the number. Yeah. Tat yesha abhyukta. That has been told like this. How Satyam. So it defines approximately Brahman as Satyam, Jnanam and Anantam. That is the next possible definition it can give. It says Brahman is Satyam, Brahman is Jnanam, and Brahma is actually Anantam. And these are all inclusive definition. We saw it. Anantam is, people don't know how large, they Milky Way, they have put all kinds of words now. They are talking of 10 power, so many light years. After that, they are not able to reach. So they cannot say there is nothing more. They can only say we can't reach. Who created that? Did you create in a laboratory with your physics and chemistry? We only observed that using physics and chemistry. Somebody created it. And the person who created must have, in the creation process, we talked about all that. If I have to create these specs, I have 100 people, highly paid people, do R&D for 3 years and come with a useless product. To create such a wonderful universe, I don't know what kind of a knowledge base, where is it? You can't push all of them because you can't even make sense of it, you can't throw it out of the window. That is Jnanam. Anantam Jnanam. Anantam Jnanam Satyam are all encompassing definitions for Brahman. Yo Veda, the person who knows it meaning not meaning or by heart, knowing is experiencing. Visishta Jnana, Vijnana, not Jnana, Vijnana. Visishta Jnana, a deep experienced knowledge. Person who has Nihitam, and where is that? Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman. It is everywhere, it is also inside you. It is omnipresent. The person who knows it, Saha Ashnute Sarvan Kaman Saha, he has achieved everything. His wish list is empty now. Because the very idea of constructing a wish list on which we are spending a lot of time will itself disappear. There is no wish list. You have transcended to another level of a highway where there are no constraints and restrictions of sorts. And all that is what he is saying. So it is Brahmana Vipaschitaha iti. He is one omniscient with Brahman. Iti. So it explains that through this vritti. Even this vritti is not enough. So that is why it said Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. How do you explain it? It then got on to, he said, Tasmat va ye tasmat. From that, from this also, it points to the pinda, it points to the anda also. It points to both. It says both are same. Tasmat va ye tasmat va. Akashat va. Because in this body there is a akasha, there is a vayu. What you talk about Mahakasha is true of Gadakasha also. There is Pancha Bhutas in every one of us. If you ask where is your Akasha, I will say my height is 6 feet. Then you can measure myself, that is Akasha. I will have to occupy that much space. If you have to, take a train journey, I need minimum that much space to put myself flat. If I want to sit, I need that much space. No, that is Akasha. So Tasmatva, Etasmatva. Akashat, Vayuhu. Vayoh Agnihi, we saw that. That's the next mantra. We saw this. It said Akasha. From Akasha, Vayu. From Vayu came Agni. These are all dependent. Plus. Because without gaseous system, fire will not happen. Without fire, condensation cycle will not happen. Liquid system will not happen. So all these are, one needs the other. Plus. So Akashad Vayu, Vayor Agnihi, Agneha Apaha, Abhyah Prithvi. From Apa you get Prithvi. The matter is nothing but a combination of solid, liquid, gas, fire, everything creates this solid piece. The chemical processes are all a combination of all those. It requires a finite space, everything. Some liquid, some heat. Process, in chemistry, so you write calories, entropy and all that. It's all heat, na? At the end of it, you write everything in calories only. That's the heat. So all those makes the Prithvi, out of which came all these enabling features. Shabda came because of space. If ether is not there, Shabda will not travel in vacuum. And Sparsha, only when wind blows you get Sparsha. Otherwise, first impression of Sparsha is when wind blows. So the idea of Sparsha came only after because you have Vayu. Rupa. Agni is the first form of shape. All other shapes are later. Shape started with Agni. The flame created the notion called there is a boundary and there is a shape. So Rupa, Rasa. Smell came only with the liquid system. And then, the sapidity. Rasa is sapidity. The fluidity or whatever comes with the... And smell comes only because of particle. If water is smelling, there is a suspended particle which is creating the smell, which is the Prithvi. So all those came. And then I talked about Panchikarna and how our Vedanta has described the whole creation process. How an item, a person is manufactured, an item like a tree or a wood or a stone, everything goes through Panchikarnam. There is a, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. There is a formula. All that our ancestors have talked about. So it explained all that. Then it said, Prithivyam Oshadeha. Only when you have a fertile earth, mother earth, where, Vanaspati and Oshadi and all that, the plant kingdom will work. Only when the plant kingdom will work, you will get food. And only from food you will do progeny, and then the Purushas will also come. So it quickly summarized that God descended into everything. And what we are nothing but the God particle, coming through various forms and merging and recombining and disintegrating, recombining, all that kind of issues were quickly established. These are all part of the first Anuvaka. Then started the Pancha Koshas. So, the Pancha Kosha is an attempt in Taittiriya Upanishad to answer the nagging question we all have, who am I? Now, different Upanishads and Vedanta literature has addressed it differently. For example, Mandukya Upanishad addresses it from a psychological plane. It talks about Bahish Prajna, and it gave a name called Vaishwanara. We are all Vaishwanaras now. Waking state is called Vaishwanara. That's why Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritah Prana Panasama Kritva Pacham Anyam Chaturvidam. He says, I as Vaishwanara sit, when you are in a waking state, I cook your food and create this engine of energy which I supply. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 15 he said that. That's the Vaishwanara. Then Antaprajna. When you are sleeping in a dreaming state, your Indriyas are fat. And that tag is called Tejas. There is still a light. You are nothing, because you are able to see, you are able to talk to someone, you can catch a plane and go to US, and then go to the temple, have some food, everything you can do by sleeping in a dream state. There is still light. It's a Tejas. And then Prajna. He knows, even without any of these light, he can know. To say Prajna. Jna is to know. Prajna, that is the, deep sleep. This is Antaprajna, that is Prajna, which is called, there's no third name for it, it is Prajna only. So Mandukya Upanishad took a psychological lens, the Avastatraya, through which it explained who am I. Bhagavad Gita took in chapter 15, Kshara Purusha, Akshara Purusha and Uttama Purusha. It used a framework like that to try to explain who you are. Whereas in Taittiriya Upanishad, it took the Panchakosha. So all of them are trying to give, the subject matter is so complicated. Easiest thing is use 1,000 similes and then you kind of keep hitting against the wall. Try to make sense of that's what they are trying to do. Because, your Indriyas are of no use. So it is like 6 blind men. So you touch different parts of the elephant and try to find a way of constructing it. If you decide not to construct, that is your problem. See, the problem today, what has happened, when one Saptaha I was explaining this, what has happened today is, think about 3 categories of people. One category of people is normal vision. Then there are 2 categories of people. In the second category, there are 3 categories. These are all blind men. So one category of blind men went and touched the elephant and said the elephant is wall. They said elephant is wall actually. Second set of blind men went and touched the leg or something. They said elephant is actually pillar. The third set of blind men did nothing and said there is no such thing like elephant. So these guys are fighting now. And the fighting has gone to such a level that the wall fellow said, I will kill the pillar fellow. Both of them are imperfect. That's a different story. The wall fellow has developed so much of muscle power. He says, this is what elephant is. And if anybody says elephant is wall, I will finish you off. All convert into wall category. And the same thing the pillar fellow is also doing. The third fellow is eternal bliss. He says there is no such thing like elephant. These are all these Nastikavadis. They say there is nothing. No God, earth, all those are nonsense. Now this person who has actually seen the elephant just keeps quiet because he has now understood the truth. He doesn't have to enter into this conversation and waste his time. What the other person is doing? The other person is actually saying, no sir, sometimes it will look like wall, sometimes it will look like rope, sometimes it will look like pillar and so on. He says, the other fellows brush him aside, he will keep saying. That is what Upanishad is the person with a normal eye, you have seen the. So each Upanishad is one is saying it is wall, another is saying it is rope, another is saying it is pillar. An intelligent person must combine all of them and construct the picture. Or we can choose to fight. So that's what is happening. Or you can be blissfully ignorant and think you have the bliss of the life. That's also another category. So that's why they are trying in different ways. We have to develop a certain mental attitude and shraddha by which we should see through what are they trying to say. That is the real upasana. At the end of the day, Vedanta is not reading and understanding this. It is seeing through what are they getting at. Because they are attempting something very complex which cannot be described. Because what can be described is an object. Subject cannot be described. See, if I have gone through a pain on account of a fractured hand, how much I would describe it makes no sense to you. It makes a lot of sense. We have anubhava, not knowledge. So, imagine the situation in which I am trying to describe a pain and make you feel as painful as I am. That is the problem at hand. Easiest thing is to break the hand. So that is the kind of problem. That's why all these are coming. We have to appreciate that position of, see, it's easy to say all these are nonsense, what is it talking, and it's easy. This is that no elephant category. You can throw everything and then you can blissfully think world is nothing. That is easy. We don't have to do all that, waste our time like this. Anyway.
Sir, there is a fourth state, something called Turiya. It doesn't discuss this under care. That is different.
No, Turiya is also there. I didn't bring it here. Turiya is also described. True. So, the way this Upanishad has brought the Netivada, not this. First of all, you ask, who am I? In a normal stretch, we will say, I am this body. I think all of us will need several janmas to peel this layer first. That because whatever you say, I am the body. That is why I am so worried about how it looks and sort it out in so many ways and spend a lot of time. You say I am not looking good, I have to lose my sleep now. Because you are talking about something which is anyway going to fall one day. But I think that is real, na?
Yes.
So that is step one. But the Upanishad takes a certain kind of a algorithmic step by which it does the Netivada. So step one, start with one new layer. Now the new layer for us is I am the body. Annamaya Kosha. I am the Annamaya Kosha. Whatever you say, I know I am this body. People like Ramana Maharishi said, I am not the body. He has crossed all the layers. He said, cut and do, no anesthesia, do whatever you want to do. He has experienced it. He is talking out of experience. So he says, pain and all for the body, suffering is for me, I will not suffer. Suffering is my choice, pain is the choice of the physical sciences. So you cut it, let it pain. I am not the body. Only that person who says I am not the body will say cut it and I don't need an anesthesia. We can talk all these. When you go to the operation theatre, you will say please give me anesthesia. Why? We are the body. Anyway, so start with that layer. So the new layer is, the Upanishad says, new layer is Atma. I think this is Atma. This body which becomes thicker and thinner is Atma. This is how I will start. So Upanishad exactly does that algorithm. It starts, I am the Atma. Then what it does is the new layer is metaphorically described like a sacrificial bird. These are all passages how it is written. You can't ask why bird, why not aeroplane and all, don't ask. Because that's not the idea. The idea is they have taken a certain sort of a metaphor with which they want to, it's a compact way of sort of explaining. So the Atma is now described in a metaphorical sacrificial bird. Then it says, contemplate on this. Question this. Is it really you? Do that questioning. That may require several janmas, experiments, courage to step one step ahead and say, I am not the body. Even easy to say, but try it out. That's the real upasana. It says, do that. And if you do upasana and come to a conclusion, I am not the body, which is step 4, now you say, this is not a body. It is only a layer, one layer. So an Atma becomes a Kosha. Kosha is just an enclosure. Enclosure is Kosha. Right? So the layer transitions from a status of Atma, content, to a Kosha, container. So what I thought is the content is no longer a content, it is only a container, it is holding something else. Now go to step 1. Now search for the next layer. So this is an algorithm. Nice computer, these modern computer science fellows will write exactly an algorithm like this. So this is a 6-step algorithm with which the Anuvakas 2 to 6 can be understood. Neat algorithm. Yeah, we'll see that. So it says, Tasya idame vashiraha, ayam dakshinah pakshaha, ayam uttarah pakshaha, ayam atma idam pucham pratishta. Because it is physical, first layer is physical, you can point and say, this is the left side, this is the right side, this is the head, this is the tail, the lower trunk is the tail. So it is pointing, I am it is saying, it is pointing. It can point because it is visible to all of us. In all other layers, it will not point like this. It will use a metaphor. Because I can't point your prana and apana and vyana and all that like that. So this is a sacrificial bird. Head, there is a head for the Annamaya Kosha. Then there is a Dakshina Pakshaha. This is a Dakshina Pakshaha. This is a Uttara Pakshaha. Okay? This is a Dakshina Pakshaha. This is a Uttara Pakshaha, I am sorry. And then the trunk and the lower portion is a supporting part, which is sort of a tail for a bird. And there is an Atma. There is a body which is, because the body is now thought as Atma. So this is the Atma. That is what happens in the last chapter of Chandogya Upanishad. The Virochana and Indra goes. These are all beautiful metaphorical stories. Indra and Virochana goes 25 years with Prajapati. We want to know who am I. Prajapati said, hold on for 25 years. 25 years, both these Indra and Virochana are loitering in the ashrama, trying to understand. One day Prajapati calls him, come beautifully dressed and come. Best way you can appoint yourself, come. I will tell you who am I. So they were very 25 years I have waited. So they all dress up so beautifully and then come. And then he takes him to the lake. See yourself, that is what you are. So both of them see. So Virochana saw beautiful body with well alankara ella madi. So he said, oh, this is Atma. This is who I am. So he went and he started taking care of the body. Indra also went like that, but he said, no, there is something wrong. It is developing shrinkles. One day it will fall. How can I be somebody who can just like that go off? So that story, 4 times he comes, 101 years. Indra comes again and again. So that is, the Koshas are described in a different way there. Anyway, so Pancha Kosha, this is Annamaya Kosha. This is a Pranamaya Kosha. Tasya prana eva shiraha, vyano dakshinah pakshaha, apana uttarah pakshaha, akasha atma, prithvi pucham pratishta. So the metaphorical bird takes the pranas and put it right, left. This is more a metaphorical description. It says so many components make your next layer, which is called Pranamaya. When the body is not there, the prana can still go up and down. When you are started to sleep and so on. Then comes Tasya Ejure Vashiraha Rugdakshinah Pakshaha Sama Uttarah Pakshaha Adesha Atma Atharvangirasa Pucham Pratishta. I explain in great detail why Veda is connected to mind. On the face of it, it looks like it's a fancy, weird combination. We discussed this. Why we connected Veda to the mind. The thoughts come from knowledge like that. So all those are there. Then comes the Vijnanamaya Kosha. Tasya Shraddai Vashiraha Ritam Dakshinah Pakshaha Satyam Uttarah Pakshaha Yoga Atma Mahapucham Pratishta. That's how it described the next layer. And it said, in fact, in all these there are these intervening mantras also. Annadva praja prajayan yo nam brahma upasate. Do the Brahma upasana, that annam is the Brahman. Keep on doing upasana, you will start seeing conflict. Because some of the Atma, Anatma, Vichara will, some guiding principles are there, it will violate. Once it's very objective. Vedanta is pure objectivity. Use the yardstick, if it is not fitting, you have to throw it. Ruthlessly throw it. So it's nam brahma upasate, ye prano upasate, brahma upasate, like that mantra will come. So that's the algorithm. Upasana do, you are not convinced. Virochana was convinced, Indra was not convinced. So he could travel to the next layer. Like that.
Maha means what, sir, here? Meaning of Maha?
Mahat. This is a larger consciousness. The larger knowledge. That's what I said. I don't know who created this beautiful world. There must be a cosmic consciousness. For a laptop and a camera and this thing, we are fighting left, right, center. 1,000 people are getting the hell out of it for 3 years. For this whole thing, I don't know where that is Mahat. That is the repository from which your Vijnana came.
1,000 years of Brahma tapas.
That's what in Bhagavatam it says in the 3rd canto. I mean, it metaphorically describes in a particular way in Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd canto. The entire creation process is available in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In a metaphorical way it explains. In Maitreya and... Then the Anandamaya Kosha. Tasya priyame vashiraha modo dakshinaf pakshaha pramoda uttarav pakshaha ananda atma brahma pucham. The Ananda, ultimate Ananda, rest only on that Brahman. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. That is the ultimate repository of Ananda. That's why Brahmananda Mimamsa came after this. The support system for all the small little Ananda, which are all, temporarily vanishing and all that. The pucham of every bird is the repository from which you drew temporarily. We have only leased for some time. As long as you are living, you have packets of Ananda and pleasure and displeasure. But this is coming from where? There is a repository. That is Brahma. That's what the Brahmananda Mimamsa talks about. Because this is Kosha Ananda. That is Brahmananda. This is Ananda which is encapsulated in a constrained, limited thing. And that is drawing itself from a Brahman. That is the ultimate repository of Ananda. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam is also, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram is also there in Mandukya Upanishad. That's how it explains it. So, this is Upasana. The Karya and Karana. Is it Karya or Karana? Is it cause or is it effect? If the body, if anything is a cause, that is ultimate truth. If it is an effect, then effect will change, no? One day effect will go. Pot will break, clay will never go. Clay is the Karana. Your ornaments can be melted 1,000,000 times. Gold will remain. Gold is the Karana. Ornament is the Karya. Like that, every Kosha is actually a Karya, not a Karana. So Karya Karana Vichara will help you to say, this is not me. Neti will come. Or Atma Anatma Vichara. There are some properties of Atma and Anatma. Apply that logic, you will find it is not working. So now you have to say, this cannot be a Atma. I said, Annamayam Atma, it cannot be Atma because the 12 yardsticks I showed. If it is violating, there is something wrong. One can say that. And then, where did it come? Go to the source. That will clarify sometimes. You keep on asking, where did it come from? Where did it... Please ask, where did the first tea plant came from? Please ask that. Nobody is asking that question. We are talking about tea market share and all that. Please ask, where did the first tea come from? Then let us talk about tea farms and all that. Go to the Rishi Mula, Nadi Mula is what they say. Go there. Urdo Mula Dakshaka is what he says in chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita. Chandamsi Esya Parnani. Beautifully it explains in Purushottama Yoga. This whole thing is beautifully explained there. You do that, you will now be able to, say this is not, it is illogical. You can say that. And Vyashti Samashti Sambandha. This Anda Pinda kind of a calculation also you can do. And so these are used. So why then, Upanishad is putting in 5 stages. It said Annamaya, you could have said, you have cheated me. You should have straight away told me, you have taken me, some shortcut and go directly to Brahmananda and from there. No, mountain climbing is done only in stages. Base camp 1, base camp 2, base camp 3. You have to acclimatize. So you have to psychologically acclimatize. Only then the next door will open. In some of the video games also, you have to do something, only the door opens. Na? You have to struggle level 1. Then comes level 2. Then do something and then level 3. Same idea, 5 level game here. That's how it does. So I said this. Then the Upanishad got into Because there was this atato nu prashnaha uta vidwan amul lokam pretya kaschana gaschati. After dying, where does this fellow, the question that it asked is, there is an ignorant person, there is a known person. After he dies, where does these two people go? Aho vidwan amul lokam pretya kaschit samashnuta. That pluta 3 times is in doubt. Kaschana gaschati. If you do it 3 times, there is either an exclamation or a doubt. In this case, it's a doubt. So the Upanishad itself asks the question, where are these fellows going? So there it brought some 6 arguments of everything is God particle Brahman only. That's what the next part of the creation process, everything comes out of it. So the creation process is so beautifully explained in Brahmanandavalli. Conceptually look at it. If you have to do any creation, whether you make this dabba or this specs or this nice looking projector or this furniture, you take anything, you need 2 things. One, you need certain drivers for creation. Second, you actually need certain parts which are certain things which are part of the actual creation process. So I will explain that a little bit. But even before all that, suppose you see a beautiful painting. Will you ask, is there a probability of a painter behind this art? That's a foolish question. Because there is a painting, there ought to have been a painter. It's a foolish question to ask, what is the probability there was a painter? Probability is 1. Like that, if such a beautiful world was created, don't waste your time, is there anybody behind it? It's the most foolish question. Ask who he is. That's a better question. Don't ask, is there a painter behind it? It's not Mayajal. You ask who is it, how did he paint, is a sensible question. So Upanishads are only worried about the second question. This blissfully ignorant no elephant category will actually start suspecting, is there a painter at all? That's a foolish way. How can you suspect when there is a painting? You can say, I don't know who it is. You can say, I searched, I found out who, I could not find out. That's more sensible. To say nobody is there is utter, idiocy. So these Nastikas are idiot people actually. Because they are illogical. See, look at it, I am very objectively saying. They are illogical. You go logically, Nastika is not possible. Astikya is very, very important. Something is there. I may not know what it is. Something is there. That's why it's called Astika. Asti iti Astika. Nasti iti Nastika. So put a painting, the painter will say, no, there was no painter. It's like that. Anyway. So the creation process, the drivers of creation are Ichcha Shakti, which should drive Jnana Shakti. That should drive the Kriya Shakti. This is one part. I should first have a desire to create a product. Then I should know the know-how. Then I should deploy the know-how. So Ichcha Shakti should drive Jnana Shakti. Jnana Shakti should drive Kriya Shakti. This is one part. That's why he is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. All the Jnanam is actually the know-how for the creation process. Without know-how you can't create. Science people will not agree. Whether you agree or not, Vedantins, I don't know what they will do. Scientists will not agree. Without know-how, can you create anything? Science will not agree. Then, know-how is not enough. Know-how comes from the upper triangle. The lower triangle says, if you have to create something, you need a doer, you need raw material, and you need a know-how. This doer is there, nimitta karana. The raw material is called upadana karana. If you have to make a pot, the know-how of pottery is required, a potter is required and clay is required. A potter including the instruments. When I say potter, it includes all rotating wheel, motor to rotate, all are included. Then the knowledge of how to make pot and the clay. So this Upanishad brought all that. You have to now look at it, go back and look at it from this lens. Upanishad, when it discussed the creation process, it brought all these. We didn't talk about it much at that time. Since I am summarizing, I am throwing that dimension to it. Tasmadva etasmad atmana akasha sambhutah. The material cause was described there. Akasha, from Akasha, Vayu, and all that I explained, no? That is the raw material. And where did it come from? Tasmadva etasmad. From that person only it came, from that entity. So material upadana karanam was established. Nimitta karanam was so kamayata. It decided, it became desirous. Let me I am very inert and dormant and nothing. Let me create a world of multiplicity. I have the raw material, I have the know-how, I will pull a part of myself and create it. That's what it is. And so, kamayata bahusyam prajayeti satapo tapya. The tapas is the know-how. Intense thinking of how do I create it. The R&D process, if you want to use a word like that. Satapo tapyata. Satapas taptva. After having gone through that intense tapas of knowing it, idagam sarvam asrijata. He created this beautiful world which science is only recreating. Science cannot create anything original. Tell me, is there anything science created which never existed in nature? No. It used nature, recreated it, manufactured it, or invented it, or whatever, discovered it, and so on. Creation is God's work. Recreation and recreation is our work. Both are our work. That's all we can do. We can have IPR and fight and all that we can do. For all that we can have the audacity to have IPR and all that. I don't know who is going to pay the IPR for God. I have no idea. I'll skip this dream and creation process. We have talked about it. It's already 7:03. I'll take another 10 minutes and then I'll sort of close it. We are slightly overstretching today. So it said, not only it created, it entered into it. So now he is saying, it is all, you ask who is God? He says, God is, all of us are God. Only thing is we have no idea, we don't know how to create that kind of a connection. We have not been able to detect that part. It's like, I was hearing somebody I was asking, called by name, I said, is that person here? No, you cannot answer if you don't know that person. Actually, the person may be here, the person may not be here. But if you don't know who he is, how are you going to answer? If I simply, tell my brother's name and ask, is my brother here? None of you can answer because you haven't seen my brother. So you can't. That's the problem we are going through. We don't know the attributes of Brahman, we are not able to recognize. So we think it is not there, we are searching and not finding out. But it says, no, I am there. See, very jokingly, one pravachan I heard, in the pravachan he said, people, and this person said, buffalo. Then the person took serious exception to that. One who was sitting, he took very serious exception, how can you call me buffalo? So this man said, 1,000 times I told you are the Brahman, you never took objection to it. Moment I say buffalo, you got up. That's our problem. We are not able to recognize the other part. This part we are able to recognize. But it says, that's how I am. I pervaded into the whole. Satchatya cha bhavat niruktam cha niruktam aniruktam nilayanam anilayanam. I created the world of duality. That which can be established, which cannot be established. That which can be determined, which cannot be determined. That which is satyam, which is anritam. I got into everything. So in other words, I created the continuum from evil to good. That's what he is saying. I created the whole continuum and penetrated myself into it. You decide in which boundary you want to operate and create your own vocabulary for it. That's all. Vacharambanam, sarvam mrinmayam. That's what he says. So sat and tyat. Then he talked about the fear the framework for fear. In simple terms, human being cannot escape fear if we can't do these three. If we do not know what is worth doing, we will have fear. If we do not know what is worth knowing, we will have fear. And if we do not gain what is worth gaining, all those which are worthless in gaining will introduce fear in us. It's a very profound way of saying. That which is not worth doing, that which is not worth gaining, and that which is not worth knowing will have to create fear. We all live in fear 24/7, please understand. For a variety of reasons we have fear. And the fear is variety of reasons because of this. One set is because of the notion of duality. I found a competition around me. So my ego is not settling. You looked at me and made a comment. I am very upset. I am very fearful. Next time, are you going to say something about me? So the moment you see yourself in the world of multiplicity, there is a quota of fear which will come. Which are all, failure, rejection, ridicule, loneliness, separation, misery, disappointment, loss of autonomy, exposure, everything is coming out of a notion of duality. The only way you can do away with this fear is you have to outgrow the world of duality. I should think all are me only. A good chunk of fear will go. Your heart will become very wide also. That's what Dharma Shastras are only pointing that. We think, everybody is, all religions are saying it, actually, in different ways. Here it has explained it in so many details, in so many ways. That's the only thing. Frameworks are much more robust here. In Vedanta, I find the frameworks are very robust. Second set of fear comes out of the body problem. Annamayam Atma. So fear of death, fear of pain, diseases, fear of deformities, violence, attack, all of them come only because we are still thinking I am the body. The day we are able to reduce it slowly, some of these will go. Okay? So real immortality is remove the body consciousness, death is no longer an issue. That is the meaning there. Immortality is not what you see in the movie. With, long beard, he looks like some 5,000-year-old man. It's not that. It is that death and all is not in my reference frame at all. It may be in your reference frame, but not in my reference frame. So body consciousness creates a set of fear. Then lack of knowledge. Fear of unknown. Lack of knowledge generates a whole lot of fear. So animals, fear of unknown, fear of uncertainty, fear of non-gain, fear of losing freedom. Because we don't have the right understanding of what to know. That's why these are all coming. In fact, many of them may not be issues. If you get to know something. That's what the Upanishad is actually saying. And absence of a robust framework will create fear of bad habits, fear of disobeying elders, fear of breaking rules and so on. These are all coming out of a lack of a framework. It's called Purushartha. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha is a wonderful Purushartha. It's not some Swamijis for lecturing, never think, all these have been reduced to that. Time pass, you have to hear. It's not. They are very nice framework. It's a very profound framework to lead life. Nice framework if you can contemplate and understand it. So that is what it is. Absence of a robust framework, and all these are originating because the triangle is not connected. Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara. And that is what Upanishad is doing. It is connecting the triangle very well. Many of these will start cutting. Slowly you will start cutting each of these linkages. Fear will go. That is what it said. Then it talked about bliss. That is the Brahmananda Mimamsa. Bliss is not dependent on external objects. That's why it showed so many external objects and raised it to 10 power 20 and said even with so much of Ananda, it cannot equate an Ananda which is inside, not outside. That's where the Upanishad sort of ended, the Brahmanandavalli, with this, taking one Ekamanusha Anandaha Adishto Dridishto Sa Yuva Syat Sadhu Yuva Dhyayakaha. Let him be a Yuva, young man, Sadhu, good-natured, well-endowed principles and things. Adhyayakaha, well-educated, knowledge is power in world of Vyavahara. So he is well-endowed with everything. Adrishto Dridishto Balishtaha, well-healthy, very industrious, all that. And out of all that, Sarva Prithivi Vittasya Purna Syat. Let this endless spread of land be his. So imagine the wealth and Ananda. Ekamanu Tasya Eko Manusha Ananda. Te ye shatam manusha ananda. You say take, multiply such a ananda. This itself is impossible. You say take it and multiply it by 100. Te ye shatam manusha ananda. Ta eksa eko manushya gandharvanam ananda. That is equivalent of one ananda of manushya gandharva. These technical terms I explained. What is a manushya gandharva? What is a deva gandharva? There is a whole structure. Shrotriyasya chaka mahatasi. That will come again and again. It went on. From there it went to Deva Gandharva. Then it went to Chiraloka Lokanam Anandaha. Pitriloka Ajana Jana Lokanam Devanam Anandaha. All those. Then Karma Deva. Then the Devas. Then Indraha. Because Indra is the boss of all the Devas. So I am sure he is more, happiness quotient than him. Potentially. Brihaspati is a teacher, because the boss is in the hands of the teacher at the end of the day. So Brihaspati is above him. Prajapati is lords of all these next layer. So again 100 of that. Then Brahma, this is the Brahma Vishnu Shiva, that Brahma, not that other divinity which I am talking about. So everywhere it says Shrotriyasya cha akamahatasya. Person who has transcended the world of desire, his ananda will be more than all these. These are all kosha ananda. However big a kosha is a kosha. Let it be, size can be bigger. Nothing like piercing and tearing it and making it a mahakasha. Whereas the person who is a Shrotriya and akamahata, his is a mahakasha. It ended that. Then the upasamhara is the palashruti. Yato vacho nivartante apraapya manasa saha anandam brahmano vidwan na bibeti kutaschaneti. He is not afraid any time because he has crossed the world of duality. So all the fear complexes are over. Fear psychosis is no longer in his scheme of things. That is how ends it finally. All that I am telling, that's what Brahmavit apnoti para. Yetagum havana tapati kimagahum sadhuna karavam. He will not say why I did not do good things, why did I do bad things, such all those world of duality will disappear. Because in his scheme of things there is nothing like good and bad. Yes, situation demands a certain response, he will do. He will not attach emotions to it, which is what Arjuna's problem was. He could not react to his situation, he got very emotional. He was not in this plane. He was at Annamaya, or maybe another Maya or whatever. So it says, Sa evam vidwan ete atmanaggas pranute ubehye vaisha ete atmanaggas pranute. Both of them, he will transcend both of them and go beyond that world of duality. He becomes completely liberated. Ya evam veda, understand it thus. Iti Upanishad. That is how this Upanishad is. So this is how Brahmanandavalli actually ended. With this Shanti mantra again. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So with this we conclude Brahmanandavalli. Next week onwards we will see the Bhrigu, which is a nice conversation between Varuna and Bhrigu. So we will see that next week onwards.